Thank you, Scott. Really a pleasure to be here with you all again, and I'm really grateful that, and hopefully it'll stay this way, I get a little bit of pictures along the side in my sidebar on Zoom of a few of you practicing with me, and that's meaningful. It's so helpful to have just a little bit of an orientation to another when we're connecting through this kind of technology and this format. And I'm so grateful that we can connect across technology. And sometimes I did a 12-hour training on Monday and Tuesday, a trauma training, and I was speaking into what felt like a black hole for 12 hours over Zoom because nobody else's images were highlighted. So I'm glad to see you. And I did some meditation about preparing for today, and what really came forward is that I wanted to do much more of a practice than lecture. So pretty quickly we're going to dive in and do some practice, and I know that Scott already made some announcements, and one thing that I will say, just because it's in my background arena right now, I am, as so many of us are, practicing at home. I'm here in my home. My yoga space is in an open loft, and so I am in a home with my husband and a 14-year-old and a 17-year-old, my two children, and also my mother-in-law, who has dementia and Alzheimer's. So there may be some background sounds, and we'll just fold them in because that's real life right now. And I know that I'm not alone. I imagine there are those of you who are practicing at home and have your real life arenas that are happening around you. So, but in a way, it kind of ties us back to the whole purpose of this, which is here we are living, you know, the full catastrophe, right? Like we're living all of this. And it can be pretty disjointed, and it can feel pretty ungrounding. And, you know, if you're sheltering in place alone, there's one set of scenarios. And if you're sheltering in place with a house full, there's other scenarios that, that we don't have control over. And I think what is so common, especially as a mental health kind of second front line worker during this and supporting my people, and what's common is that our sleep can get disrupted, that we can feel anxious, that we can start to feel shut down. And so my focus has been, certainly for myself, my daily yoga practice, a place to come back to again and again, and a place of predictability. So that even if there are all of these other things in, whether it's in your home or in your community or in your country or in your world, that feel out of control, or I don't know what to trust, I don't know what guidance is accurate, that the place that we do have some sense of choice and control can be here. How are we breathing in our own body? What is our mindset? What's the quality of our mind? How are we responding to our own emotions and creating space for that? And so the practices that I wanted to kind of guide us through today, it's going to be more of a flow practice, and the intention is around connection. And that connection is both going to be in the arena of self, of listening, of connecting to instinct and intuition, of trusting that at some kind of very kind of grand level that we have a really profound body that is connected to the big picture in a way that sometimes actually I think our minds can't quite grasp, but our body knows how to respond to when we can tap into that wisdom. And so listening to sensation and turning the mind over to the wisdom of the body is going to be a big part of our practice today. And trusting that when we are connected to self and we're tapped into that wisdom and we're unhooked from some of the blocks that prevent us from listening to the body, that also can allow us to be more available to connecting to other, right? That if we're then interacting with another person and they're off or not sleeping well or feeling anxious or feeling shut down, that because we've aligned ourselves with a more available breath and a more available energetic system, that can become a resource for others. So there's the layer of the co-regulation. And at a very kind of cosmic level, when we are doing our inner work, I really believe that that is world work. That when we allow ourselves to be able to handle greater levels of complexity, whether that's, you know, the emotions that are showing up inside of us, or the grief, or the thoughts that are coming forward, or you know, that we can have greater equanimity in here, that equanimity translates into our interactions with others and has an impact on our connection to the world. So we're looking at connection at all of these levels. But for today, for right now, we're going to go here because that's the place to start. So if you have some blankets, if you have a blanket or something soft to put a knee down, that might be a nice thing for practice. If you have some blocks or something that will suffice, some books or soup cans or anything that you can put your hands on, and either a bolster or some kind of, again, a block or something that you might rest your hips on later. Those are some things that I'll invite you to have nearby. And then we're going to drop in. So with all of the words, all of the kind of shaking of the snow globe of the mind, I'll invite us all to do a little bit of a deeper dive. So just allowing yourself to find a comfortable seat. You might choose to begin this hour or so of practice on your back. That's totally fine. You might be choosing to do this entire practice sitting in a chair and finding modifications, and I'll offer some of those. But at least to begin here, we can start there as well. And then as you find that seat, that comfortable seat, allowing yourself to fine-tune. Much of what we're doing when we're attending to the body and regulating, which is a funny word, but really what we're talking about is responding effectively to what is. Responding effectively to the way that the body might be speaking through patterns of tension, discomfort, tingly, heat or cold. So we fine-tune, we really listen, and we explore maybe subtle movement or a slight lengthening of the back of the neck and a slight tilt of the chin. We fine-tune by exploring a little bit of tilt in the pelvis, maybe forward and back, and then finding that sweet spot that really gives you a sense of connection. We fine-tune through the breath by tracking unnecessary holding, perhaps around the diaphragm, perhaps across the rib cage or the chest. Any letting go practice here that allows the belly to begin to move with the breath, so that as you inhale, you allow the belly to expand. You allow the rib cage to widen. You allow the chest to lift slightly. On the exhale, you allow the chest to release back. You allow the ribs to draw toward each other. We allow the belly to come back in, so that what we're doing is we're catching where the tension wants to restrict movement with breath, and we're opening up the channel. If you are familiar with an Ujjayi pranayama, perhaps beginning to add that here, if that's a new practice for you, it's as if you are fogging up a mirror with your breath, but then the inhale, exhale right through the nose. So it's that same quality of openness through the back of the throat. An audible sound to the breath that begins to wake up through the inner ear. Sometimes this is referred to as an oceanic breath. Perhaps even that image of the waves coming to shore and retracting again, a lovely metaphor for how we greet the waves of sensation, the waves of emotion, as you invite more of yourself to arrive. And knowing that we are tuning in from around the world, fine tuning in, I'll invite us to do a global Om, just allowing that resonance to move inside of you. And of course, we won't hear each other, but we can know that collectively we are resonating in this place, this vibration that can resonate into your chest, your throat, into the brain, and allowing us to feel and sense that sound. Inhaling here together. Exhaling to Om. Inhaling here. Exhale, let something go. And we'll add on a little bit of movement with breath. Inhale, sweeping the arms up overhead. And exhale, turning the palms and sweeping hands back down to the earth. I'm going to slide back a little bit so that I'm not quite so cut off by video, and you can continue the movement. I'll guide us here together once again. Inhale, drawing arms up overhead. Exhale, turning the palms, sweeping down. And moving with breath, beginning to find what yoga offers, this exploration of polarities, of opposites. So that as we inhale, lifting the arms, we really root and ground ourselves in the pelvis. As we exhale, pressing the palms away, the spine gets a little bit longer. Inhale, feeling yourself rooted, grounded, deep in the breath in the body. Maybe the gaze comes to the thumbs. Exhale, reaching through the crown of the head, pressing fingertips, palms downward. Again, here, one more time. And then releasing your hands down, letting them rest comfortably. Whether you're in a chair, on the earth, doesn't matter. Taking a moment to tune in. Simple breath and movement. Noticing quality of mind. And then organizing your mind through the focus of an intention. What is your why? Why are you here for this practice, for this immersion day? What are you hoping to get out of this practice? And then perhaps visualizing, planting that seed of intention at the top of your mat, just knowing that that becomes a focus that you get to bow to, that you get to return to. And we trust that with any seed that we plant, we need to let it go into the dark. Let the planting of that seed be enough, and then we'll water it with attention, with sunlight, but that we trust that what shall emerge comes with its own timing. I'm going to offer an integrative practice here, and this is simply with the eyes, but it'll be relevant for where we're going. So for a moment, long spine, and what I will name is that as a trauma-informed practitioner, everything that I offer here is with choice, so that you can opt out of anything that I suggest. It's about listening to your body and knowing what's right for you. I'll offer practices. You can choose in or opt out, and there's no right or wrong. This practice with the eyes is to simply find that nice long spine and to take your eyes all the way to the right corners of their sockets. We won't stay there long, 2-3 breaths here, allowing yourself to simply feel the stretch of the eyes. And then bringing eyes back to center for a moment, just noticing sensation. Sometimes there can be a little nausea or dizziness that comes with these simple, not so simple eye practices. So honoring that if that arises for you, it's not uncommon, and to just be sensitive, to be tender with yourself. We'll take eyes to the left, and allowing yourself to reach all the way to the left corners of your sockets. We're keeping nose, chin towards center, so the head's not following yet. Just letting the eyes stretch, coming to breath. And then once again, eyes coming back to center, taking a moment, just allowing that to integrate, allowing any recalibration of what you notice, sensation, perception, right? And our eyes are so connected to our orienting response. And when we're in a state of fight or flight, sometimes the eyes can get a little stuck. So we're loosening up not only the muscles intrinsic to the eyes, but the deep connection into the occipital lobes of the brain. And even below that, down into the reptilian brain, where our orienting response is guided from, driven from. And it's very much a reflexive response. Coming back to eyes. This next one takes the eyes right up to the center of the forehead. You can do this with eyes closed. And if it's uncomfortable, drop on out. You don't need to do anything. There's no necessity. And just a few breaths here. We're going to breathe following the gaze of the eyes. Some people refer to this as the third eye point. Think about this as the access to the pineal gland and the brain. One more breath here. And then allowing your eyes to softly, slowly blink open, recalibrate, reorient. What are you noticing? Right? Maybe the quality of light shifts just a little bit when you open your eyes. All of these subtle awareness practices help us fine-tune, enhance our effective responding, which essentially is the regulation. All right, next eye practice, down to the tip of the nose. Eyes can be open or closed, that's up to you. And just a few breaths here. This time, as you breathe and focus your eyes downward, I invite you to simultaneously root your awareness, your attention, down to the pelvic floor. One more breath here. And then slowly blink your eyes back to center. And this last integrative set of eye exercises are to put it all together. So taking your eyes in circles, up to the right, down to the left, just a few in one direction. And the other direction, right, up, left, and down. You might notice places where the eyes move smoothly, where they jump. Okay, just notice. And then when you feel even, come on back to center. Maybe you blink your eyes, maybe you move your head around just a little bit. Maybe you let that sensing and feeling, just find some subtle movements in your spine. And just tracking. It's information, right? If we think of yoga as svadhyaya, it's about self-study. So all of these practices aren't about achieving anything. There's no right, wrong response. It's about knowing yourself. I'm going to remove my mala and my scarf and just put that to the side for a moment and have a little bit of water, electrolytes. And we'll take some of our movements into another place of exploration. So I have a little bit of mic here in front of me. Hopefully that you still hear me fine. I'm just going to move it to the side. And we're going to take some spinal rotations now. So this next series, and again, you can do this sitting, you can on a chair, you can do this sitting cross-legged as I am. You can even do this with your legs out in front of you if that feels like that's an easier access point. So modifying and finding your way in. So here we are finding perhaps an inhale as you reach forward and an exhale as you round back. And kind of like what we did with the eyes there, you might notice little places that feel smooth and places where there's a little bit of a catch. So I invite you to pause, find any micro movements and any spots that are calling for your attention. When we pause there, when we find the little toggle of movement right over those spots, it's a way of saying, hello, I see you, I feel you, I acknowledge you, and then we can have a change. Hello, my daughter just came in and she's disappearing. So we find little ways of acknowledging, saying, hello, I see you, I hear you, I acknowledge you, I know you're there. And then let's go in the opposite direction. Inhale forward, exhale back. Let it feel good, even if it feels uncomfortable, right? Do you know what I'm talking about? We find those little pockets, those sensations, those tight spots, and when we send our awareness there, even if it's uncomfortable, there's a satisfaction. There's going, oh, I've met that spot, right? It's like scratching the back, oh, just the right spot, you know. And a few more in this direction. You might even explore what it's like to engage the abdominal muscles, and that will create a little massage across the digestive organs. So as you exhale back, draw the navel back, create that internal massage. And then once again, you might find those little spots, those little pockets. Good. And then we'll come up to sitting for seated cat-cow. So hands on your shins or your ankles, and we're going to draw the heart forward. And we'll release the heart back. Once again, you can modify this in a chair or feet forward, however you want to find this one in your body. Inhaling, exhaling, and we can also really listen to the pace that your body wants to move. So I offer a pace, but listen to you. You're your best teacher. I want you to begin to sense and feel how as you move, you're really opening up the front channel, the belly, the diaphragm, the chest, the throat. We're creating a little stretch, and as you exhale, opening up the back body, all of those little connections around the spine, the backs of the shoulder blades, open and contract. Pumping around the heart, the digestive organs, and we'll keep the same movement alive, but bringing hands to shoulders. This time, inhale, opening the elbows, you can reach the chin, and exhale, tucking the chin, elbows come together in front of your heart. Inhale, breathe, broaden. Exhale, maybe a sound. Inhale into the space you created. Maybe lion's breath. Stick the tongue out. Draw the diaphragm back. 2 more like that. And if you're joining for lion's breath, really let that sound happen. Let it be a little fierce. You can even cross the eyes. And this time, opening up the wings of the arms, reaching fingertip to fingertip, opposite directions. Then exhale, pressing palms, press firmly. Inhale, expand your wings. Exhale, finding midline and give it a press. Inhale, one last time. Exhale, pressing palms, squeeze it out. And then release the hands, inhale, long spine, and check in. Our pause is the place of integration. Noticing your heartbeat. Noticing subtle or not so subtle sensations. Quality of emotional tone. Quality of your mind, your thoughts. Alrighty. So for this next part of the seated series, we're sitting for a while here, and if you ever need to shake it out, right? Just let the legs release for a moment before we come back up to sitting. So you get to pace yourself with a lot of sitting, and once again, you can do this in a variety of ways. In fact, for a moment, let's keep the legs out in front. I'm going to show a variation of twist. This is from the Jivamukti tradition. This is called the teepee twist. And we can take the left hand to the outside of the right leg, right fingertips behind. Inhale, lengthen your spine, and exhale, we'll find our twist. So let me turn toward you for a moment. I'm still turning towards the right side. Now we're going to integrate with the eyes. Let's go ahead and take the eyes to the right corners of their sockets. Just allowing yourself to find movement and that eye integration. Brain integration, in truth. Inhale, finding a little more length. We're not yanking with the hands. This is really supported by the core. So you could even lift up your hands, feel how the core is doing the movement, and then place back down the hands and just allow yourself to rotate, knowing that this is not a forced action. Coming back to breath. let's come through to center, gazing forward, and for a moment, just butterfly, open and close through your legs. And we'll take this into side two. I'm gonna turn so I continue to turn toward you. It feels good to me right now to turn toward you. So nice little teepee shape in the legs. Inhale, exhale, right hand outside of the left leg, left fingertips behind, finding a nice long spine. Gazing, chin comes over left shoulder, eyes to the left corners of their sockets. Coming into breath, you can release the hands for a moment, knowing that your core is supporting the shape. The hands then encourage the long spine. Inhale. Exhale to deepen, finding your breath. And then inhale, coming to center, releasing your hands, maybe butterfly out through the legs, or stretch the legs long. You can move them out this way. Oh, that feels so good. All right, and we'll come back to center. So just a little bit more with our twisting action here. So I'm going to share with you, this next one comes from Kundalini yoga tradition, and you can opt in or opt out. I'm going to show a variation, and then you're going to choose what works for you. What I love about this, especially as an EMDR practitioner, is this integration of left and right and the power of integration as we do that. And we'll have some cross-crawl options and other postures today, but we're doing a lot of brain integration, as you can probably already feel. So the first option in this is I want you to imagine that you're holding a tray and inhaling to center, exhale to the left, inhale center, and exhale to the right. Now, this is a beautiful place to stay. We'll do this together again. And you might choose to continue this movement or join me. We're going to place the hands on the shoulders. This time, inhaling left, exhaling right. We'll switch the breath in a moment. Once again, listen to your pace with breath and movement. You might choose to go a little faster. Inhaling center. And either with your tray continuing, or we'll switch the breath. Inhale right, exhale left. Inhale center. Exhale, release the hands, recalibrate, integrate, sense and feel. Let that come all the way through. And we'll find a little bit more integration of this all the way down on our backs. So taking a moment to find your way into a supine position, and you can see I have a cushion under me, I have sheepskin, you might want a blanket under you. Make this comfortable, really make any posture yours. And I'll invite you to keep your knees bent, feel the soles of your feet onto the earth, and micro movements or stillness, just allowing your head to be supported, your shoulders to be supported. Maybe you soften your jaw. Maybe you soften that space between the eyes. You soften the muscles around the eyes. We've been doing a lot with the eyes. Just let them receive and not effort here. We're going to take the effort, because sometimes when we've been keyed up for a while, there's effort, but it doesn't quite know where to organize in the body. So we're going to organize effort into the core of the body, the dantian, the solar plexus, the inner sun, right? So that's going to support us, especially as we come into some standing and some balancing practices. So for this next set of practices, I'm going to invite you to take the soles of your feet off of the earth. Slide. Oh, you probably can see me. I just am blocked by your images. Okay. We're going to take the soles of the feet off of the earth. We're going to take the hands and we're going to press them into your thighs. So isometric hold, you can just allow yourself to gaze up toward the ceiling, let your head be supported, and then pressing arms, straight arms into your legs. Press your thighs back into your hands, so much so that you feel a little bit of shake, a little bit of vibration in your core. Let that happen. One more breath here, maybe exhale through the mouth. And then soften through your arms, let your knees come in to whatever degree works for your body. You might even wrap your arms around your shins, you might rock a little side to side. Let that happen. Let that go. And we're going to follow up once again, same action, hands to thighs, thighs to hands, arms can be straight, press, 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 arms into hands, hands into legs, legs back into your hands. You can flex your feet, come to breath. Let the shake happen. And then soften it in. Oh. Let it go. Let the breath extend out through the soles of your feet, through the top of your head. Any micro movements that acknowledge that effort is over and it's okay to relax, to let go. We will effort again in just a moment, but we train our nervous system as we go back and forth between effortful experience, willful experience, sympathetic nervous system, and then back to the parasympathetic. And as we train ourselves to easily, fluidly transition between those two states, it feels so good to know that when we're keyed up, we know how to relax. All right, next one. So similar to the last, we're going to this time take right hand to your left thigh, okay? You're going to press, press, press. Opposite hand, opposite leg, and then we're going to extend right arm, right leg, left arm, right leg, good, and then in. Press with right hand, left leg, extend, little cross crawl. If you want to tap your right knee, you can. Press, 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 hand into thigh, extend and reach. It's a little bit like scratching your head and rubbing your belly, or tapping your head and rubbing your belly. A lot going on in this one. One more. All right, for a moment, you know we have side two, but for a moment, let that go. Roll it around. You might feel one side of your belly a little bit more awake as a result. That's just fine. It's what we're going for. Let's even ourselves out, shall we? Left hand, right thigh, and press, press, press. Let that activation wake up. You'll feel it in your belly, maybe in your chest, certainly your arm. Inhale, opposite sides. Exhale. If you want to find that little tap, just give it a tap. Press, 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 hand in opposite leg. Reach, reach, reach. I think we got one more here. Good. Let it go. And you know what? Take a moment. This time, don't just let it go through your legs and your low back, but scrunch your face, stick your tongue out, make a sound, open your jaw wide. Maybe let it be fierce, right? Just let any of that emotional energy that we're stirring up as we get that fire in the belly moving, let those emotions come through you. Good. Well done. All right, hands behind the knees, and we're going to rock and roll on the spine. We are going to rock up and eventually find our way into Navasana boat pose. So starting out here, you can have your hands behind your legs, nice long spine, toes can stay on the earth, heels might stay on the earth, or you might rock back a little bit on your sits bones and take your shins nice and even with your mat, with the floor here. Okay, you can keep your hands behind your knees, or you might join me. We're going to do a little integration. We're going to kind of open up. So with this time, same side, right leg, right, or left leg, left arm, and back to center. Doesn't matter, right or left. On the other side. So we have different actions in the body when we're contralateral, when we're homolateral, right? We're wiring different connections in the brain. Just let yourself feel this core support. Last one on this side. Even yourself out, coming back to center, long spine, heart lifts. Maybe lift the arms, maybe lengthen the legs just for a moment. And then let's roll on out, cross the legs, and some way or another, let's meet in a tabletop if you need to swing your legs to the side or roll over the top, whatever serves you here. And when you arrive in tabletop, here is my invitation to you. I'm going to turn this way so I'm facing your mic here so my sound is nice and clear. And now I just want you to move however your body wants to integrate what we have done so far. So you can imagine that you are your favorite animal just waking up from a nap. How do you want to move? Guided at the level of sensation, guided at the level of intuition and instinct. What helps you fine-tune, effectively respond, or regulate yourself? Another way to think of regulate is to come back to that sense of safety and connection. Just as we were honoring before with our rotations, I want you to really look for those little pockets of sensation, maybe of tension, even of discomfort. And you're going to send your breath there. You're going to say, I see you, I feel you, I honor you, I'm listening. And then just notice what changes in response to that acknowledgement, because we all want to be acknowledged. And honestly, as much as we can think about our relationships as these kind of outer experiences in the world, we have so many relationships just right inside of us. All our different parts and feelings want to be seen, known, understood. Beautiful. All right, from here, we're going to, as promised, do a little bit more of a cross crawl action. So here's where, again, I like to have a little padding underneath my knees. And we're going to extend right leg back. We're going to extend left arm forward, inhale, and exhale. We're going to take knee and elbow together. Inhale, exhale, moving with your breath, your rhythm. Listen carefully. Next, inhale, finding a reach. Maybe bending through that right leg. Maybe sending left arm back and around. You might stay right here. You might make contact, ankle and hand. And if so, you might kick into that hand. Let yourself feel that long line of energy from the right knee across to the left shoulder. And then soften, release, coming back, hand, knee to the earth. And a few breaths here. Integrate, recalibrate, respond, fine tune. Coming back, tabletop, side two, left leg, right arm, finding your balance. A great place to stay, or we'll find our cross crawl, elbow and knee. Inhale, your breath, your movement. Listen carefully. Inhale, reach. Maybe bending through that left leg. Maybe drawing right arm back. Beautiful place to stay. Maybe making contact, ankle and hand, and kicking into your hand, resisting back and feeling that line of energy. Left knee crosses over front of the body to the right shoulder. Slowly, without slingshotting, release. Inhale, a little bit of cat-cow here. Just inhaling, lifting through the crown of your head, your tailbone. Exhale, let's arch the spine. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, pressing hips to heels, child's pose. Wisdom pose, your name, your choice. And if that doesn't work in your body, you can place a folded blanket between your hips and your heels, or you can keep your hips stacked. One way or another, I invite you to allow your forehead to rest downward onto the mat. Another opportunity to notice any increased heart rate, any quickened breath. And through this softening into support, allowing yourself to feel held by the earth, received, softening, grounding. And then slowly from here, allowing yourself to move back up through tabletop. And then from here, curling your toes under, lifting head, tail, and on an exhale, begin to lift your hips. Now you can keep deeply bent knees for this first part of our transition into downward dog. So deeply bending into the knees, let your spine be long, let your head rock a little bit. We're not taking this into the hamstrings yet, just allowing yourself to feel that integration of long spine. Let your heart reach through, breathing into your armpits, breathing into the palms of your hands, fingertips wide. And then maybe, just maybe from here, you begin to lengthen through the backs of the legs, begin to descend heels toward the earth. There's no right or wrong, honoring your body. If it feels right, engaging for a few breaths here, strongly through your legs. Let your quadriceps be engaged. Let your heels reach. and allow yourself to imagine that you are drinking up through straws through the bottoms of your feet, all the way up into the hips, and exhaling down the spine, out through the crown of your head, out through your palms. We'll breathe in the opposite direction here, breathing up through the crown of the head, through the palms, through the spine, to the tailbone. Exhale it out, down through the legs, out the bottoms of your feet. And then from here, slowly, slowly, maybe even without bending the knees, walking your feet forward, forward fold. Now, options, right? Lots of different bodies. So if you like to have blocks under your hands, bring blocks under your hands. Bring the floor a little closer, right? If you like to bend your knees, bend your knees. The point here is we are descending head below the heart. We are guiding the mind to the wisdom of the heart by the wisdom of the heart. Maybe you release the neck, all those little muscles, the base of the skull. You can figure eight through your nose, or nod yes, shake your head no. Another lovely place to let your voice go. Just sigh it out. Any tension dripping off from your shoulders, out the crown of your head, out your hands, downward, downward. And then I've got a important transition, so listen carefully to our transition to standing. My feet are hip width apart. I even personally like a block between my inner thighs for this transition. And then we're going to bend a little bit more deeply through the legs. From here, we can free up the arms. We're going to take the arms behind us. We're going to draw that navel toward the spine, so we're really strong. And as you squeeze a block or an imaginary block, I want you to simultaneously imagine your heels moving in opposite directions from each other. So you've got an action of inward squeezing and outward pressing. Whew, right? Do you feel a little bit of the shake there? I do. All right, you can stay right here. Let your gaze be down once you've found it. Or you want a little add-on, some of you do, I know it. We're going to take the hands forward. Squeeze the block. Now you can even put a second block between your hands if you want, or an imaginary block there. Let everything engage. Come to your breath. Maybe the toes lift off of the earth. Squeeze the block, press the heels. And then from here, press into your feet, long spine all the way up to standing. Squeeze that block. Exhale, samastitihi, equal standing. Let me step back a little bit. You can see more of me here. Ooh, equal standing. So, samastitihi, a prayer for equal standing. May we have equanimity in the face of all that is. Standing in the middle of all that. All right. From here, if you have a block there, you can release it for a little bit. I'm going to lift this up just a tad bit. See each other a little more here. And this next little side bend here, so we're going to draw the arms up overhead. Maybe you want to press palms, interlace palms, fingers, and lift the index fingers. I think I can get that out. Inhale here, and exhale, we'll come to the right side. You don't have to come too deep at first, just greeting both sides' bodies. Inhale, center. We'll do this a few times, so you'll have a chance to go deeper. Exhale to the other side, just noticing. Not uncommon for one side to be a little tighter than the other, just getting to know your body. Inhaling center. Exhaling back to the right. Maybe your gaze is down, maybe forward, maybe a little under your left arm. Inhale, center. You might shift your hips a little side to side, between sides, and then up and over to the left. Again, maybe exploring, gaze down, forward, or underneath the right arm. Okay, back to center. Now, I didn't say this already, I probably should have, but you can always modify this with a hand down on the side of your leg. I'll do this next one that way. Up and over to the right. You can press into the side of the leg with the hand, a little bit of leverage support. And again, you find your gaze. Coming back through center. And maybe that modified version, side two, up and over. Breathing, you can squeezing your thighs toward each other, breathing down for forward or up. And then back through to center. Good. This time we're going to take the hands, interlace them behind the back. Now you can always use a strap, right? I didn't tell you to grab one, or a piece of clothing. So if your hands don't make connection, have a little something that supports you here. And then from here, drawing the connected hands down. And perhaps a little bend in the knees, a little lift of the heart. And on an exhale, coming forward and allowing yourself to, once again, bow head below the heart. This time, taking the connected hands up overhead, breathing into your shoulders. And slowly softening hands by way of the sacrum down to the earth, finding that halfway lift. And this time, exhale. We're going to plant the hands. We're going to step back to a high plank position. Now, we're not here too long, just enough to, once again, fire up the belly. Know that strong connection within you. And then on an exhale, we're going to bend through the knees. We're going to bend through the elbows, lowering chest, lowering chin, and pause for a moment in this little inchworm shape, a deep connection of the lower brain to the back of the heart, to the hips, to the tailbone. Inhale. And exhale, slithering all the way down to the earth. Ooh, doesn't that feel good? And then from here, you might keep your feet wide. You might bring your heels together. Listen to what supports your body. And just a few whirling cobras. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. Your choice. How much weight in the hands, how much lift of the heart. Let this feel organic, intuitive. One more like that. And on an exhale, we're going to take left ear to the mat. We're going to bend through the right arm, right elbow, and take right elbow to the mat so that you're kind of in an L shape. And we're going to match that L shape with the right leg. So once again, a homolateral shape in the body. And hopefully you get a little visual of this. So we're turning right, we're turning our gaze to the right, to that right hand, and we're just going to melt. I want you to really imagine that you are a piece of, one of the scoops of ice cream that's just fallen onto the hot pavement, and it's melting into the concrete, or maybe we're melting into some sand on the beach, wherever you want to melt into. I'd rather go for the sandy beach, huh? So in Kripalu Yoga is where I did my teacher training. We talk about how yoga is an integration of will and surrender. You can imagine this effort and ease like two wings of the bird that together allow us to take flight. Too much effort, we risk being aggressive. Too much surrender, we risk feeling stagnant or passive. So we alternate through this practice, finding that sweet spot of our nervous system, our physical body softening. Letting go. Emphasize the exhale. And then chin to center. Extending right leg. Right arm is going to come back by your hips. So joining the left arm here, both arms back this time. And then from here, once again, integrating or interlacing, I should say, your hands by your sacrum, and we'll have an opportunity to come into locust. Now, if you prefer to go back to cobra, your practice. If you're coming into locust, you can begin to let the hands lift your head and shoulders. Maybe your feet come off the mat. Just a few breaths here, feeling the strength of your back body. Maybe a few inhalations, really emphasize that inhale. Let the inhale lift you up a little bit higher. One more. And exhale, right ear to the mat. Bending through the right arm, 90 degrees. Bending through your left leg, 90 degrees. And then letting it all go. Exploring that which resists gravity, and every exhale inviting a little bit more surrender into the earth. Slowly, chin back to center, extending left leg long behind you, hands underneath your shoulders. We're going to move through tabletop. We're going to meet in a downward facing dog. Once again, you can curl the toes under. You can begin with deeply bent knees, allowing yourself to really feel the length of the spine, then maybe lengthen through your legs. And then from here, inhale to lift through your right leg. Exhale, we're going to step forward and through. So here's a place where blocks are handy. I like them underneath my hands, just supporting a lifting and lowering of your hips. You can lengthen out through the front leg and bend. You can bend into the back leg, drawing the knee to the earth. So once again, let this be an intuitive exploration. Breathing into our legs, really for the first time in this practice. We're dropping in. And then from here, I'll invite a knee drop. That left knee can come down. Now, if you want to pull something under your knee, that's always an option, right? So why not make it comfortable for ourselves? I always think that's wise. And then from here, you might even use blocks or soup cans or your books in a higher setting. If you want, you can lift the upper body a little bit taller. You might even take your hands onto that front thigh. And then here, we'll do a little exploration of pelvic and heart connection. So lifting out, you can tuck your pelvis just a little bit here, and you can even curl your chin in a little bit and feel that front line, especially that left hip flexor. And then on an inhale, let your hips come down, lift your heart a little bit, and then back out, exhale, curl it in. So you can imagine a cat-cow action here. Inhale, feeling that hip flexor, heart, throat, and exhale, drawing it in. Coming back through to center, drawing arms up overhead. And this time I'm going to face you for just a moment. It'll make a little more sense, I think. We're going to interlace the hands here in a little bear grip. So right palm up, left palm down, and then we're going to drop the hands so that the fingers are catching. And then from here, we're going to lean toward the right. You don't have to go very far, but I have a feeling that as you draw that left elbow tip up a little bit toward the ceiling or the corner of the wall behind you, and you draw the right hip down a little bit, you're going to notice something, right? So send your breath there to wherever you notice. Inhaling here and exhale. We'll take our hands down. You can move the blocks. We're going to step the right foot back to meet the left. And for a moment here, just toe heel it out. Maybe walk it out. I personally am going to get a little sip of water because I got thirsty after that one. All right, let's find side two. So from here, we'll inhale, lifting through the left leg from downward dog, and then step it forward and through. Here's where I like those blocks. You feel it out for yourself. And we're going to lift and lower, greeting. Left foot forward, right leg back. What's this side of your body want you to know? Is there a story here? Sometimes the two sides of our bodies are vastly different, depending on our life experiences or injuries. And we just greet. We greet what is. We're not trying to make ourselves perfectly symmetrical. In Svadhyaya, self-study, we are intending to just know who we are. A few more breaths, just organically listening and following. And eventually releasing that right knee onto something, right? Be it your mat or maybe something soft. Personally, I like the blocks. I like to start just letting my heart lift a little bit more. And then from there, maybe walk hands on top of that left thigh. You can play with the distance of your right knee and your left foot, just getting to know what your body's needing here. And then from here, we're going to explore that kind of one knee down cat-cow. So we're going to tuck the tail, really draw the heart, the head down. And then on an inhale, you can draw the hips forward and let your heart lift. Finding your flow here. Getting to know this side of your body. Listening, following. And then we will find a little side bend. So I'm going to face you once again. I'm going to, this time, left palm up, right palm down. I mean that bear grip, fingertips going to grab onto each other, a little lockstep there. And then we're going to begin to just reach that left elbow down toward your left hip and explore taking that right elbow up toward the back of the right room, the right side of your room. right, toward the ceiling. You can explore your gaze up or down or forward. And then sending your breath into the front of your right hip flexor, reading what is. Beautiful. Coming back, releasing the hands. And stepping left foot back, and we'll meet in a downward facing dog. From downward dog, on an exhale, lowering down through the knees, sending the hips back. A brief pause in child's pose. And then slowly walking yourself up. This time, I'll invite you to once again transition onto your back. So you can take your hips to the side, your legs in front. I'm going to take my head that way because, again, it'll help with sound. Here is where having a block nearby is going to be handy. And if you don't have a block, a bolster or a rolled up blanket can be handy for where we're going. We're going to come all the way down onto the back. And for a few breaths, I'm going to invite you to explore that spinal mobility that we've been playing with here, just with the support of the earth. So nothing too grandiose, right? Just a little bit of rocking your pelvis down and rocking it up, and you might press into the feet and your pelvis might come up off the earth a little bit. Now, I apologize, I shouldn't model looking at you while I do that. If you're lifting the pelvis up, just let your upper spine be static, let your gaze be toward the ceiling so that we're not putting any undue pressure on the muscles of the neck. And again, nothing too extreme. I'm not guiding you into a full bridge, but of course, some of you may want to go there, and it's your practice, your body. Honor what's right for you. Just a few more rocking motions here. Feeling that connection, hips, heart, throat. And then the next time we come into this, having a block or your chosen support item here, I'll invite you to lift through your hips and place a block underneath them, and then just finding that right spot for the block. Sometimes you might move it a little up or down and go, that feels really supportive. That feels just right. Or your blanket or bolster, right? Now, I like a block here. It feels really grounding and supportive to me. So you explore what works for your body. From here, keeping your left foot grounded, we're going to take the right foot in, and for a moment, just allow yourself to draw your hands around your right shin. Now, this is a fine place to stay, or you might begin to extend your left leg long. And in doing so, you can perhaps, with hands around the right shin, begin to kind of wiggle and micro move and fine tune some action of a squeeze, a compression in the right hip flexor as you send those left toes long, the left leg long. You can really reach through the left toes. And then your balance of will and surrender. You can soften here. You can make this more active. Listening to your body. Knowing that part of what this particular action does, this posture, if we want to call it that, is to compress into the right psoas while we're lengthening the left side, the left hip flexor and psoas. And some people, and this may have been discussed in the earlier connective tissue lecture, some people actually consider the psoas more of connective tissue than muscle, more congruent with that tissue in the body. But what we do know is that the connection of the psoas and hip flexors are very engaged in our sympathetic fight-flight nervous system. So we're softening. And we're also compressing. And we're massaging across the ascending colon. And you might be able to find any unnecessary holding in your belly and exhale that out. You might notice unnecessary holding in your shoulders, and you can exhale, let that go. Your jaw, your eyes, your forehead. And then very slowly softening and rebending into the left knee, planting left foot on the ground, and then releasing right leg, right sole of the foot. A moment here, supported bridge. Just noticing left and right sides, responding, fine-tuned. Anything speaking to you, sending your breath, your awareness there. And then left knee can come in. We'll find this on side 2. You might compress hands around your left shin. You can stay right here, or you might begin to lengthen out through the right leg. And then explore how active you want to reach through those right toes, how actively you want to compress into that left shin, and how much you want to just let go, soften, receive. Both are valid, both necessary responses to you at different times. So honoring, guided by your own intuition, your own body. How do you make this yours right now? Even as you're engaging in certain elements of the shape, you can track unnecessary engagement and let that go. Maybe a sound with your exhale. Letting something go. And then slowly, slowly rebending into the right leg, planting right sole of the foot on the earth, softening hold on the left leg, planting both feet onto the earth. Noises in my background, just part of the practice, right? We let the world around us, we don't have to fight it or resist it. Of course, there are some things that we don't want, but the more that we find our own center, that equanimity, we stand in the middle of all that. Maybe for a moment here, reaching both legs long. Now you can remove the block if the block under your hips is too much for the front of the hip flexors, or letting that block stay there, releasing both palms open for a moment. Not here for very long, just one more breath. And then rebending one leg and the other, this time pressing into the soles of the feet, lifting the hips and lowering your hips down all the way, removing that block. Remove the block. Lower your hips all the way. You might find a few micro movements here. Just greeting the sacrum and the low spine. You might even imagine a little S curve as you shake your tailbone side to side. Let that S curve translate its way up through the spine, even your neck, your head, just invited by the sacrum to go back and forth a little bit. And then from here, taking your knees both to your chest, wrapping your arms around your shins, maybe your nose towards your knees, and ask yourself any final movements that you need to complete your practice, honoring your answer, and perhaps joining me at this stage all the way down for Savasana, extending one and then the other leg this time long. Or if you're finding some final movements, letting yourself honor your practice however you need to. Once you do arrive in your final resting shape, our collective global corpse pose, just knowing that so much of the purpose of this practice is learning how to let go when it's time to let go. Catching the waves of holding or tension or grasping or pulling. Honoring the stories that they're holding for us, sometimes from many, many years past, long ago. We greet them and we grieve them so that when the time comes to let go, we're ready. Now, I don't know what time it is for you, if we're practicing around the world. For some of you, it's late at night. For some of you, it's still relatively early in the morning. But wherever you are, we're going to take a little morning stretch or maybe a nighttime stretch. And for those of you that just want to stay in your Shavasana and roll right into bed, honoring what you're needing here, and we'll take a gentle roll to the side. Maybe stay there for a breath or two. Eventually pressing up, meeting, sitting once again. I will come join you a little closer. We'll have just a real short closing. For those of you that want to come back to sitting for this closing moment, you can of course join in this from your back. And as we come back, reunite for a moment. And I invite you to not transition too quickly, to transition slowly. Staying with that inward connection even as we greet each other and others. I'll close with one final Om. If you want to bring your hands to your heart or palm over your heart, just let that sound, that vibration come through one more time. Inhale. Honoring the practice and extending the benefits of this practice to all. Namaste.
you so much, Arielle.